having an emotional breakdown right now.
Do you think the police
I'm getting
should be...
exercise.
You want to wait?
Because I'm thinking of my daughter.
Here we go.
I'm thinking of my daughter.
Here it is.
In the aftermath of the election, people took to X to claim that they love Jesus and they voted for Kamala Harris. I know, do we live in a world of unicorns and fairies? Isn't abortion on the ballot and innocent human lives in the womb? Of course, but there are many people who have believed the mainstream narrative. But in fairness, I don't want you to believe the conservative narrative either. I want you to just believe the truth. That's why I want to introduce you to a debate between Sam Seder and Tim Pool. Not that they're going to give us the full truth, but it does give us a foundation so that we can talk about the most important issue that was on the ballot, and that's the issue of life. We'll talk about that and more today on Indie Thinker. Welcome to the show. My name is Reed Huberman. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I am happy to announce today that for the price of a cup of coffee at Starbucks, roundabout there anyway, you can become a member of Indie Thinker Media. Now, when you become a member of Indie Thinker Media, not only will that give you access to exclusive content, free ebooks, book reviews, and all sorts of other exclusive content, but it will also help you help us create the future of Christian media. Now, if you've thought to yourself, boy, I would love for there to be a Christian alternative to so much of the junk that we have in the mainstream, but have never found that Christians have really produced that. Well, that's what we're after here at Indie Thinker. Not only will we produce provocative content that will deepen your faith, but it will also inspire you and entertain you. I know, crazy thought. All of that can happen just simply with a $7 a month membership that will grant you access to all the things I mentioned before and help you push us into the future. So if you want to do that, make sure to go to indiethinker.org/support. All right, here we are in the 21st century. We're talking about colonizing Mars, and Elon Musk just caught a rocket with chopsticks. The Babylon Bee is actually funny and explicitly Christian. Will wonders never cease? I know, right? And yet, with all of our technological advances, one thing remains the same. Human nature. We haven't been able to change it yet, and we keep on realizing and bumping up against it constantly. So here we are, still arguing, as we did in the slaveholding days, what constitutes a person? The modern left's position on abortion is so vile and disgusting that it's hard to express with words, but it is embodied. Allow me to introduce you to Sam Seder. His views on abortion are so radical that even Tim Pool's milquetoast views on abortion are a bridge too far for that man. But make no mistake, Sam is merely a stand-in for the real problem I want to address today, and that is that there is a group of Christians rising up now, mostly in Gen Z, that are so undiscipled and so unbiblical that they are now bragging for having voted for Kamala Harris, a woman who has claimed that abortion is a constitutional right, that there should be no religious exemptions for abortion for religious people, and no limits to when you can actually off your baby. Now, many will claim that anyone voting for Kamala can't be a Christian, but that would be to presume something that I want to try to address, that our churches have been faithfully preaching the word and radically discipling Christians in a post-Christian context, rather than what we've actually been doing, entertaining them and encouraging them that Jesus is just there to help you get that job promotion. And maybe, if you're lucky, Jesus will be there too to help you get some extra fries the next time you're at McDonald's.
What if God worships me?
The consumerized Jesus of the modern church has created lukewarm people who say they love Jesus, but rarely do they add to that, and I'm also faithful to Scripture. So more importantly, we've created a generation of believers who don't think deeply, and they fall for the tactics of deceivers, especially on the issue of abortion. As it was in times past, there's a proposition before us. You can betray Jesus and keep the money. It's a great deal, trust me.
I'm Judas.
So that is to say, we're experiencing a sad day in the church where a Christian, or a supposed one anyway, would sound more like Sam Seder or even Tim Pool on abortion rather than what I would like to try to argue today. And hopefully, as I do so, it will shine a light on the millions of babies that are sad casualties of these foolish kind of debates. So it's important that we get this one right. Let's jump into it.
What are your thoughts on where we're currently at? Like, what do you think we should be doing?
What do I think we should be doing? Well, we should at the very least be reestablishing Roe v. Wade statutorily.
I think the Supreme Court was wrong, and I believe that the 14th Amendment requires that the federal government make a ruling specifically on the issue of abortion. What that becomes, I don't know, but the concept of personhood needs to be ruled on one way or the other. So this is not a state issue. Trump is wrong about that.
But the personhood should no. I don't believe in personhood in the womb.
Right. So you think the Supreme Court should say no personhood in the womb?
Definitely.
I think the Supreme Court needs to answer one way or the other.
Well, I mean, it would put some things to rest. I don't think they're going to do that. I mean,
Trump is saying it should be a state's issue, and I believe that is absolutely incorrect.
No, I think we had an individual right that existed in this country for 50 years, and it was rolled back. We've never had anything like that whatsoever. I think it's a right that when taken away, deprives people who have babies their sovereignty over their own body, and it's both an economic issue and a personal liberty issue.
What do you think there should be restrictions
on abortion?
Yeah.
I mean, the problem with restrictions, like for instance, we say only in the case of, let's say, a danger to a woman, or a woman's life, is that is extremely difficult to assess where that line is. And we've seen this. 2 women have died at least in Texas as a function of the abortion ban that they have there. We also know that infant mortality in the wake of the Texas thing, because there's been studies on this, increased 15% in the wake of the abortion ban there. So in general, I would say that restrictions are in practice not viable, not doable, because you end up costing women their lives. I think that to the extent that I would have restrictions, I think you need a medical provider to provide abortions, that go past the maybe midway through the second trimester.
But, do you think that with elective abortion should be available up to 9 months?
If it is I think that is the safest route for women if it is done by a medical provider. Yeah.
Elective. I asked elective, to be clear.
Elective.
Meaning no reason given, no medical issues, just a woman saying, you know what, I've
carried this baby for 8.5 months and I've changed my mind.
Well, that's a little crass way of putting it. I think some women are going through some serious crises in their lives, and they may make a decision that's a bit more than just they've changed their mind. Like, for instance, where a woman is being battered by her husband, and then she realizes at month 6 that if she has this kid, he's going to continue to beat and harm the child, and she can't stay with him or something.
Well, I think, I'm not going to assess people's reasons for having an abortion. It's not really my business. But I think that having restrictions ends up costing women's lives. And so I would, on balance, not have restrictions outside of, obviously, particularly as you get further into the pregnancy, requirements about medical certified medical providers.
So let's say you have a scenario: a woman goes to a Planned Parenthood, 6 months pregnant, and she just says, "I don't want to explain it. I just would like to get an abortion." Is that she should be allowed? There should be just medical professionals say, "We're going to do it. We're not going to ask you why."
I think I think it's okay to explore it and get a sense, as you would for any type of medical procedure.
What does that mean?
I think that there's an obligation within the context of ethical practice of medicine to
not just terminate a baby at 6 months without reason.
Well, no, I'm not saying that they should adjudicate this, but I don't think that necessarily medical providers are going to be just hop up here, we'll just do this right now. I mean, I think there are procedures in which they do it, but essentially, as long as it's they're following medical procedures, Like, I don't think that somebody can, walk in here at 6 months and say to you, like, can you get rid of my baby? And you're allowed to do it.
No, but I'm just asking, like, should there be a time limit, like 16 weeks?
I think that is, that endangers women too much. So the answer is no. I don't believe so.
So, but that would create a circumstance, be it as rare as, it may be, but where there's like an 8-month abortion.
It's conceivable. Certainly in the 8th or 9th month. Here's the thing: in the 8th or 9th month, you can you may find that the child is going to not be viable.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about elective. Like, I'm specifically trying to ask about that.
But here's the danger, though. Like, and this is what I'm talking about. Why you have women who have died in Texas, and there's probably a lot more that we're not aware of.
Now, the claim Sam makes there is that women have died because of abortion restrictions in places like Texas and then presumably places like Georgia as well. Now, I want to just encourage you, before I say anything else, to be very, very skeptical about the things that you hear on the issue of abortion that come out of the mainstream. I have multiple examples for you, but one of the big ones is that we've been lied to a lot recently that abortions have been decreasing under Democrats, and you can be pro-life and vote for Kamala Harris. Now, the reason that is utterly ridiculous is because of the uniquely bad candidate that Kamala Harris is and what she wants to do in terms of abortion, but also because that data is completely misrepresented in terms of the most prominent form of abortion in the United States today, which is the abortion pill. Those numbers are completely underrepresented in all the data that you're going to see. And even if it weren't, we're still talking about hundreds of thousands of babies being aborted every single year, and we need to do whatever we can to try to save them. But maybe a very clear example of the way that you should try to be a little bit skeptical of the information that you hear from the mainstream is this JAMA article that stated that 64,000 pregnancies have happened as a result of rape in 14 pro-life states. Now, you read that article and you think to yourself, well, that's a lot. In fact, it's kind of weird, right? 64,000 pregnancies. And this is, by the way, since Roe was overturned. There have been 64,000 pregnancies as a result of rape in just 14 states alone. Seems awfully high. Well, it actually is, and here's why. And this is from the Heritage Foundation. The authors of this study should have simply multiplied their estimate for the incidence of rape by the post-rape probability of getting pregnant. Instead, they took the curious additional step of multiplying that result by a ratio that appears to have no relevance at all. A number generated by dividing the lifetime probability of rape-related pregnancy as reported by the CDC by the rape-related pregnancy rate per victim as reported by a different study. So the result of this equation that was done by JAMA was a number that is inflated by about 250%. So let me rephrase so you totally understand. In other words, the number of 64,000 pregnancies as a result of rape in 14 pro-life states is not a real number. This is not as a result of actual cases, but rather an equation, a probability of sorts that was made by the people over at JAMA. So in other words, it is a fake number. Now, this is why you should have a bit of skepticism whenever you hear anything about these kind of exceptions where it comes to rape and incest and life of the mother. And this is explicitly the case with Amber Thurman in Georgia and Nevaeh Crane in Texas. So Sam alludes to these individuals, but he wants you just to take at face value that it is abortion bans that is the reason these women are dead. Amber Thurman in particular went to get an abortion pill out of state. She took that abortion pill probably too far along in her pregnancy, and it left baby parts from her child remaining in her womb that were decaying, and then she went into sepsis. By the time she went into the hospital, she was already in critical condition, and from what we hear, there was a delay in any kind of surgery to help get rid of those decaying body parts, and then she died. Now, Nevaeh Crane, in the same way, had supposedly delayed care. Now, there's a whole lot of skepticism as to whether or not there was actual delayed care or whether there was just a delay in getting to that care. And the reason for that is simply this, that in both Texas and Georgia, even though they have heartbeat bills, They both have exceptions for the sake of the mother's health. So in other words, Amber Thurman and Nevaeh Crane could have received life-saving surgeries according to the laws in Texas. So even if you take the best case scenario, it is simply that these doctors didn't understand the law, and that is the reason that these women are dead. It isn't the abortion bans themselves. It is medical malpractice. Now, you may argue, well, this is why we don't need doctors trying to interpret the laws. Well, friend, I don't know if you know this, but I am not a doctor. But I just interpreted the laws very, very easily. So the answer to that, by the way, wouldn't be to get rid of the laws just simply because the doctors are misinterpreting them, but to actually train the doctors in the law and to make sure that there is no future medical malpractice so that this never happens again. So it's not the abortion ban, but the doctors who are at blame here. And I wanted to state that at the outset of this because I want to make a final argument that I think is going to get some resistance from some people. But I hope you understand. It is done so with due charity to the 4 women, the 2 in Georgia and the 2 in Texas, who passed away. Anytime any innocent person passes away, it should go without saying, it is tragic. But I do have to tell you, using 4 cases of women who died as a result of miscarriages or as a result of the abortion pill not working as it should have, using those 4 cases to justify the unceremonious death of 98,000 babies per month in America seems to be a bit of a stretch to me. Especially when you take into consideration the basic fact that the vast majority of abortions are not done because of life of the mother or because of rape and incest. Over 90% of all abortions that take place in America are done so simply out of convenience, either because the mother wasn't ready, the baby wasn't planned, the family doesn't think that they'll have enough money, or whatever the case may be. So the fact that we are willing to justify the slaughter of 98,000 babies a month for the sake of these edge cases that rarely happen seems silly to me, and it is. But there's one other silly claim, and it comes in the form of viability, which we'll hear Sam and Tim talk about next.
Oh, come on.
No,
We're trying
come
to be
on.
reasonable, right? We
No.
want to solve the problem. We don't want to just say, oh,
What's
well,
the problem?
geez. There are conservatives who believe that if the baby is, well, for many, I don't even believe in IVF because even a fertilized, embryo is life.
What's the problem? I understand that there are
Problem is
religious
the
people
distinction
who don't
between
like what I
old
do, but what's the problem?
The death of a baby.
Well, I would contend that we're talking about the death of a fetus. And
So the issue is whether someone determines personhood or not is a legal constitutional question that needs to be answered. For instance, in Civil War, they didn't think black people were humans who had civil rights, and that's clearly the psychotic way to view the world. But you holding the view that an unborn child is or is not an individual who holds a view, whether they are or not, is an unanswered question at the Supreme Court level that I believe sooner or later will be answered. And they may make a determination that the unborn are persons who are.
what do you think?
Man, that's tough. I tend to be traditionally pro-choice. I think that when you have
Do you think there should be restrictions on abortion?
100%.
What should those restrictions be?
Time limit for sure, but I don't know. I'm not smart enough to give you a certain amount of time.
But here's the problem: is that when in practice, that time limit ends up killing women.
Well, you've got a dying baby or a dying woman, and we're trying to figure out how to save them both.
Well, I mean, one is
if the baby can survive, why kill it?
So you're saying viability.
So viability is huge, and medical technology is rapidly expanding that. But there's still a lot of questions in how we handle it. So my position is that the government can't mandate one person provide their body to another person. However, if a person provides consent in the initial phase, now they have an obligation for a certain time period. So
if you have sex and you get pregnant, you are obligated to carry that baby to term. Is that what you're saying?
I think that I'd be in favor of abortion up to a certain point.
Well, but I don't understand what the logic is there.
Logic is compromise.
Oh, so this is just a question of splitting the baby in half, literally.
Not literally splitting the baby in half. It is, can the government tell someone you must provide your body and blood to another person?
And you say they can up to a certain point.
The questions of consent play a role in whether you allow someone and then have an obligation to them based on the requirement. So for instance, like rape, I 100% exception. Health of the mother,
okay,
100% exception.
Let's say
Now, if you're ever going to have a conversation about abortion, you are probably going to hear about the viability of the baby. And then what will be accompanied with this is terms like clump of cells and fetus, rather than calling the baby in the womb a baby. And that is simply because you have to use dehumanizing language to justify the slaughter of an innocent baby in the womb. And this is the case with the viability argument, because you should know something. The viability argument is not a scientific standard whatsoever. It is completely and utterly arbitrary. The real standard would be what the vast majority of biologists believe, which is that a baby at the time of conception, when brand new DNA is formed, is now a human being. A human being at conception is formed. So the idea that a baby is only a baby when it is viable outside of the womb is the most dumb of all arguments, for a couple of reasons. First of all, babies, when they are capable of surviving outside of the womb, still aren't viable. They're still reliant upon the mother's body for milk and other things in order to survive. And I have a 10 and an 8-year-old, and I'm pretty sure that those two boys aren't viable at this stage in the game. They are wholly reliant upon me to keep them from punching and kicking each other in the head and face for absolutely no reason, other than maybe like a crayon was taken or something like that. So these barbarians are desperately in need of the attention and care of parents, not to mention the whole idea that you can be geolocated and that's what determines whether or not you are morally valuable is totally ridiculous. Even if I were to concede to you the viability standpoint that, okay, sure, until a baby can survive outside of a mother's womb without the umbilical cord or without the womb, it's not viable, then I would still argue this. If whatever this secondary thing to being a human is, it is still the most valuable and precious thing on the planet. So it doesn't logically follow that you can just kill this second most precious thing simply because it is not viable outside of the womb. Needless to say, I don't have to concede that, because that human being in your belly is the same human being that's outside of your belly. And Sam Seder, throughout this whole conversation, doesn't even want to argue rationally, because he'll tell you all the way up to 9 months, we can't do that because it just gets too sticky for us to try to figure out, how to make all of these things work. And it puts mothers' lives at risk. One final kind of thought there. You know what abortion does? It puts the life of a baby at risk too. And that's kind of its design. So to not mention that seems utterly dishonest, but that's kind of the way Sam's acted throughout this whole debate. And honestly, abortionists have to act that way, because if they ever get down to being brutally honest, they will see that their views are barbaric. And this is why I think Sam has a little bit of a meltdown when he talks to Tim Pool in this final clip.
But I also don't want to carry my rapist child. In that scenario, the woman is out of luck, according to you.
If you are not willing to take your responsibilities,
The responsibilities that,
of victims,
that the rapist has imposed upon you.
Indeed, yes.
Okay. So this is, what do you call this? The Rapist in Power Act?
I suppose you'd say that liberals have a view that they have no responsibilities at all. That there is no
I don't feel like I have a responsibility. I certainly don't feel that if I was someone who could be, I am making an argument.
Well, the Rapist Responsibility Act is an emotional nonsense.
No, it isn't.
We're talking about a person's responsibility to society.
That is exactly what you're suggesting.
It's drama
is
nonsense.
No, it's not drama
nonsense.
nonsense.
It's prop clipping.
No, it is not.
Yes, you are. Come on,
dude.
You're not making an argument.
Shit about
Make an argument. Don't say nonsense
the
words
argument
like rape.
is that what you are suggesting
is
that a woman who is raped has a responsibility that has been bestowed upon them by the rapist. The rapist has chosen you. If I shoot you in the face, I have caused you I have imparted upon you a responsibility. What you're talking about is fascistic. It is
Sam, do you think
disgusting.
that if someone commits a crime against you...
And so I'm sorry I said Rape Empowerment Act and tried to do it in a more satirical way.
But
what you're talking
your
about
logic
is
centers
disgusting.
are shutting down.
And listen, no.
You're getting overly emotional.
No, I'm not.
You are not speaking logically anymore.
No. What you're doing
when a person is a victim of a crime, they have to file paperwork to get accountability.
You're trying to pretend like you can find something in here, but
you're
it
not
is
talking about the argument anymore.
Nonsense. Yes, it is.
You are no longer talking about the issue
because
nor the
everybody
law.
sees. Oh, I am
You are getting
definitely
overly
talking
emotional.
about it. I don't.
You're talking about my person. You're doing ad hominems. You've lost it.
No. Here's
Sam,
the point.
let's start with
You're
the law.
so full of crap.
You see,
it's
here you go.
amazing.
You can't even make an argument anymore, can you?
I don't need to. Because
You don't need
everybody
to
who
make
has watched this,
arguments.
no. Everybody who's watched this knows that
watching you have an emotional
you're
breakdown on
saying
camera.
that a rape victim has a responsibility that has been bestowed upon them by the rapist. It's gross. It's disgusting.
You are having an emotional breakdown right now.
I'm not having an emotional breakdown right now.
Do you think the police
I'm
should
getting
be? Oh, you want to wait?
Because
You
I'm
wanna-
thinking
you
of
want-
my
here we go.
daughter.
Here we
and
go.
I'm thinking of my daughter.
Here it is.
And I'm thinking of the idea that a
Sam.
rapist could force her to
Sam.
do something
Sam,
that
you're spiraling.
No,
You're
I'm not
spiraling.
No.
You're spiraling.
Tim,
You're not
you're
even
afraid
stopping talking.
because you just
You're not even
found
stopping
out
talking.
You never
You're gonna-
think
you're gonna-
out
you're gonna-
anything
you're
that you
gonna- we're gonna say something?
and
You're
you're
gonna- we're gonna
upset
talk, or are you gonna
that
keep
I
just talking about
faced
nonsense?
you in front of all of your
Are you going to
audience.
wait for your prop
The
clipping?
Rapist
Your prop clipping,
Empowerment
Sam.
Act.
Your prop clipping.
I don't even know what that means.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. You're
What does
prop
it mean?
clipping again.
What is prop
You're
clipping?
not arguing abortion anymore.
What is prop clipping?
You said, Tim, you're full of crap. You're not arguing abortion anymore.
Because
you disgust me. Oh, rape, blah, blah. You stopped
You're
arguing.
saying
You
that a
stopped
rapist-
arguing and you started doing performative garbage for the camera.
No, I'm
You
not
want to
doing
have a
performative
discussion, Sam?
Dude, the best
You wanna-
part of
do you
this
wanna have a discussion,
was
or are you gonna keep
tying
talking?
you in knots about
You
the
wanna have a
idea
discussion?
that a rapist can force a woman.
Here you go again.
to go in-
Here you go again. You're making things up.
I'm reiterating.
prop clipping.
I am reiterating.
You're prop clipping.
I am
Sam,
reiterating your
You're getting
position
overly
to you.
emotional. You're getting heated. You're finger pointing. You're throwing slurs and name calling. You're
What's
full
the slur?
Well, I forgive me. You're so full of crap. You disgust me. Blah. This is not an
honestly,
argument. You want to have
I
a
gotta be
discussion?
honest with you.
You want to have a discussion, or you're gonna have an emotional breakdown?
You know what? I am going to continue with the so-called emotional breakdown because honestly, I think
That's right, Sam.
No, I honestly.
Let's solve our problems by Sam
I
just
honestly-
freaking out and having emotional breakdowns on camera.
I honestly think that like what you do
Sam.
is so damaging.
Oh no!
And this
here he goes.
whole notion that you,
Broke.
would allow
It took 2 hours
for
and 40
race-
minutes for you to break.
Yeah,
You
this
broke.
whole
Sam,
why are you keeping me
broke.
from talking?
because you haven't
If
let
you
me talk
think
one
I'm-
time.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Victims of crimes who want accountability have responsibilities.
What if they don't want accountability? What if they don't want to put themselves on the stand and have to point
And they
out
don't get
that
accountability.
guy? Okay, but they have to carry the baby, right? According to you,
If they don't want accountability, then this is
and they have to carry the baby.
This is reality.
Say it.
A woman.
Say it. If they
I will
don't
say it as
want
plainly
accountability,
as I can say
they
it
have to
100%.
carry that rapist baby.
If a woman does not want accountability for her rape, she will carry that baby.
She has to.
She has to. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Up to 15 weeks.
That's the prop clip I want right
up
there.
to 15 weeks.
I hope we've learned something throughout this debate, and that is that edge cases like rape and incest in Life of the Mother are typically argued by dishonest people. It is a version of ad hominem. You know, they have to use these extreme cases to make you try to seem like if you don't let this woman kill her baby, it's because you're not actually pro-life, because you don't care about the life of the mother. It's a version of ad hominem attack. And this is why Sam gets really emotional here, because ad hominem is an attack predicated upon emotionalism rather than logic. So let's get down to the brass tacks and the truth of what Sam just argued. First of all, you should know this, that about 1% of women seek an abortion due to rape. And you can even look at this chart by Guttmacher, which is funded by Planned Parenthood, to tell you that. Besides, you don't give a baby the death sentence for the crime of another person. I understand there may be some trauma associated with carrying the baby of your rapist, but it is not that baby's fault. I mean, we're talking about leftists, by the way, who want to let criminals out back on the street, but then want to charge the baby for a crime that the baby didn't commit. I mean, I think we've forgotten an A word in all of this, and it isn't abortion, it's adoption. And thank God that there are women who have been brave enough to do this. Now, the other thing, and I think this is probably the most important thing, let's say that there is incredible trauma as a result of this rape, and specifically, as there would be, right? But specifically with that baby in her womb. Like every single day, she thinks about that baby in her womb, and it reminds her of the trauma that she's going through. Who is to say that simply by adding the death of that woman's baby, who is half hers, who is to say that that actually decreases trauma and that helps the mother? Honestly, rape is bad enough, but then to add to it on her conscience the fact that she has also eliminated the life of an innocent human being along with that, how in the world could you possibly argue that that is going to help that individual with her trauma? All of this is to suggest that abortion is a victimless crime, and it isn't. It actually has two victims, the baby and the mother. And the final thing I'll just say this is, Sam says he's doing this for his daughter. This was recently just echoed by LeBron James, who said that he's voting for Kamala Harris because of his daughter. Now, I just got to tell you something, and this may be ad hominem, so I'll wear it as a badge of honor. If you are a man and you are voting for the sole purpose, or at least a purpose at all, to make sure that your daughter can kill your grandbaby, then you are not a man. Now listen, in a postmodern world, we're told to believe black and white issues don't exist. Thankfully, that's not true. Abortion happens to be pretty darn black and white. All the arguments for abortion can be summed up this way. Life begins at conception, at the moment when brand new DNA creates a brand new life. You can call it a clump of cells or a fetus to justify killing it, but that's all you're doing. Over 90% of biologists hold to the conception view that human life begins at conception. Everything else is mental gymnastics. Once you establish that, then you can clearly see that a baby is not responsible for rape or incest, or in the case of life of the mother, you need to save both the mother and the baby if you can. Very often, that won't fare well for that sweet little innocent baby. But there is not a single medical condition known to man that is remedied by an abortion. You'll hear a lot about sepsis, ectopic pregnancies, and miscarriages. Every one of them are red herrings. It is never medically necessary to kill a baby to save a mother. That being true should give us all the freedom and the moral clarity to see this issue for what it is, a black and white issue. If you don't, you're either not listening carefully or worse, you think dead babies are a political pawn in your game for power. So make no mistake, the endeavor to save babies does come from a right-wing, religious, fundamentalist political party, but the desire to off them comes from a left-wing, ideologically driven party that wants to dictate life to you as well. Or more importantly, they want to dictate death. Only one of those positions uses logic, science, and truth as their banner, and the other one uses Planned Parenthood and the slaughter of innocents. The right won't back down. I won't back down with my beliefs that we need to stop mutilating kids in and outside of the womb. By the way, outside in gender clinics, in case you were curious. So, we are at an impasse, but let's be honest, there shouldn't even be a choice between these two things in a sane society. But until that changes, realize this: everyone is religious. Everyone is worshiping something. Choose the religious worldview that protects life. All right, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and go with God.